Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd really appreciate your comment. It helps me understand if you enjoyed the story and how I can improve in future ones. I'm 31 years old, and I've been with Whitney for 4 years. We've been living together in a 2-bedroom apartment near Washington Park in Denver for about 18 months now. It's one of those renovated buildings with exposed brick and high ceilings that costs way more than it should, but the location makes it worth it. I can bike to work at my fintech startup downtown. She's close to her marketing job, and we're walking distance from dozens of restaurants and bars. On paper, we had everything figured out. Great apartment, stable jobs, friends nearby, weekend trips to the mountains. The kind of life people post about on Instagram. Last Friday evening shattered that illusion completely. I'd been casually browsing houses in Park Hill, nothing serious yet, just getting a sense of the market since I figured we'd be buying within the next year or so. I mentioned over dinner that I'd seen a place with a great backyard, told her it would be perfect for kids someday, maybe a dog. She got this look on her face. That tight, practiced smile people make when they're about to say something they've been rehearsing in the shower for weeks. She asked if we could talk, really talk, about where we were heading. I set down my fork and gave her my full attention. This felt important. She took a deep breath and launched into what was clearly a prepared speech. She'd been thinking a lot about our future, she said. She loved me, she really did, but she didn't want to get married just to check some box that society expected. She wasn't sure she ever wanted children. Maybe never, she said. The way she said maybe was so final it might as well have been definitely never. I asked her directly if she was saying no marriage timeline at all. She confirmed no timeline. I asked specifically about children. She said she didn't think she was meant to be a mother, that the idea of it made her anxious, that she'd been feeling this way for months but hadn't known how to tell me. The words hung in the air between us like smoke from a candle you just blew out. I asked the obvious question then, whether she wanted to break up. She said no immediately, almost panicking. Her voice got higher, faster. She loved what we had right now, she insisted. She loved living with me, spending time with me, our life together. She just needed me to stop pressuring her with all this future planning. All the house hunting, the comments about kids, the questions about timelines. She wanted to keep living together, being together, doing all the things we do, just without the weight of expectations about where it was all leading. I sat there processing this quietly. Here was someone telling me she wanted an indefinite holding pattern. I wanted marriage within 2 years and kids by 35. Those weren't abstract goals. I'm already 31. My sister has a 3-year-old. My parents keep asking when they'll get more grandkids. Whitney wanted to keep playing house without ever signing the lease. I thanked her for being honest about what she wanted and told her I needed to think about what that meant for me. She seemed genuinely relieved, like she'd expected a fight, and was grateful I was being so reasonable about it. She even hugged me before going to watch something on Netflix. I sat at the kitchen table for another hour just staring at my plate. Saturday morning, she doubled down on the honesty. We were drinking coffee on the couch, and she told me she felt so much better having been transparent with me. She appreciated that I hadn't gotten angry or defensive. Then she added more. She'd been feeling like we were more best friends who lived together lately, she said. The spark wasn't what it used to be on her end. She still loved me, absolutely, but in a different way now. More comfortable, more settled. She wanted to be authentic with me and not fake passion she wasn't feeling anymore. She actually said she thought this honesty would make our relationship stronger, that we could build something more real now. I sat there holding my coffee mug, and something clicked into place in my head. I was in a relationship with someone who didn't want my future, didn't feel romantic love for me anymore, but expected me to keep playing the role of devoted boyfriend while she felt like my roommate. She wanted me to keep doing all the boyfriend things, the planning, the romance, the emotional labor, the financial support, while she got to enjoy the benefits without any of the commitment or reciprocal feelings. I thanked her for being so honest and told her that really clarified things for me. She smiled and squeezed my hand affectionately before getting up to take a shower. I heard the water running and made my decision. If she wanted to be friends who lived together, I'd treat her exactly like that. Sunday morning, I canceled our anniversary reservation at Fruition Restaurant. We were supposed to go next month for our 4-year anniversary, and I'd booked it 6 weeks in advance because that place fills up fast. It's one of the nicest restaurants in Denver, the kind of place you go for special occasions. Canceling felt significant, but appropriate. Friends don't celebrate relationship anniversaries. I also removed her from my Spotify family plan. Saved me $12 a month. Small thing, but it added up. I went through my browser and deleted all the house listings I'd saved in various neighborhoods. Park Hill, Congress Park, Wash Park West. All those little dreams of where we might build a life together, gone with a few clicks. And I deliberately skipped my usual Saturday morning run to Devil's Food Bakery, where I'd been picking up her favorite cherry danishes every weekend for the past year. That was a boyfriend thing. Friends don't make special bakery runs. Monday morning, there was no good morning kiss. I used to kiss her forehead before I left for work. Not anymore. No text when I left early for a meeting, either. I used to send her little messages throughout the day. Good morning, beautiful. Thinking about you. Hope your presentation goes well. All those little threads that kept us connected during the workday. I stopped all of it. When she texted me around 3 asking what I wanted for dinner, I replied that I'd grab something on the way home, but thanks for asking. Polite. Friendly. The kind of response you'd give a roommate. I actually went to happy hour with colleagues after work, something I hadn't done in months because I usually rushed home to spend time with her. Got home around 9, pleasant but distant. She asked about my day, and I gave her brief, friendly responses. Nothing cold, just the kind of small talk you'd have with someone you share an apartment with but aren't particularly close to. That night, I went to bed in the guest room. I told her I was tired and wanted to read without disturbing her. She looked confused but didn't push it. I lay there in the dark thinking about how much emotional energy I'd been spending on someone who just saw me as a friend. Tuesday, I updated my dating app profiles. Didn't activate them or start swiping, but I refreshed the photos and updated my bio. New pictures from recent hikes, updated job information, tweaked my description to be more honest about wanting a real partnership with someone who wanted marriage and kids. I left my laptop open on the kitchen counter while I made coffee. She walked by, glanced at the screen, and her face went completely pale. Are you breaking up with me? You said you wanted what we have now. I'm just recalibrating to match your energy and your vision of our future, which is no future. We're still together. Together, yes. But you're not in love with me and don't want a future. So I'm treating this relationship like what it actually is. Temporary and casual. She tried to argue that wasn't what she meant, that I was overreacting, that she just needed space, not a complete change in our relationship. But I was done interpreting and translating and trying to read between the lines. She'd been crystal clear about her feelings and her wants. I was simply responding in kind, matching her energy exactly like she'd asked for. Wednesday, she suggested we do dinner and a movie. Date night, she called it. I agreed, but said we should invite some people, that we hadn't done a group thing in a while. I texted 3 coworkers. We all met at a Vanny Food and Beverage, that place near the train station with the shipping containers converted into different food stalls. Great views of the city. I paid for my ramen from the Japanese place. She paid for her tacos. I treated her like part of the group, not my date. Made jokes with my coworkers, talked about a project at work, barely looked at her. She barely spoke the whole evening, just picked at her food and checked her phone. Thursday, I did what any good software engineer would do when faced with a complex problem. I created a spreadsheet. I'd been tracking our shared expenses somewhat loosely, using Splitwise for some things, but not everything. And when I sat down and really laid it all out, the numbers were absolutely staggering. Over the past 18 months of living together, I'd been paying $1,850 in rent, while she paid $850. Some disparity made sense because I had the master bedroom with the little office nook where I could work from home, but the gap was significant. I'd also been covering 100% of our utilities. Electric, gas, internet, water, all of it. I paid roughly 70% of our grocery bills because I made more and it seemed fair at the time. I paid about 90% when we went out to eat because I usually just grabbed the check without thinking about it. I covered probably 85% of entertainment costs. Concert tickets, museum passes, movie theaters, bar tabs. I'd added her to my car insurance policy, which saved her about $80 a month compared to what she'd been paying before. I'd bought both of our season ski passes to Copper Mountain at $829 each because I wanted us to spend more time in the mountains together. I'd funded about 75% of our Moab trip last spring and 100% of our Seattle weekend last fall because she was tight on money both times. When I added it all up, the total disparity over 18 months was approximately $18,400 more spent by me. $18,400. I stared at that number for a long time. I drafted a message outlining a new financial arrangement going forward. Rent would be split proportional to our incomes since she makes about 60% of what I make. So the new split would be $1,400 for me and $1,300 for her. All utilities would be split 50-50 going forward. Groceries would be 50-50, or we'd just buy our own food separately. All entertainment and dining out would be completely separate. And I'd already removed her from my car insurance policy, effective next month. I sent it. My phone rang 30 seconds later. This is completely insane. It's fair. You're being petty. We've always done it this way. That was when I was investing in our future together, when I thought we were building something. Since we don't have a future and you just see me as a friend, this is the appropriate arrangement for two people who are casually dating. She hung up on me. I heard her slam her bedroom door. Friday evening, she clearly tried to salvage things with a romantic gesture. She texted me asking to meet at Avanti again, said she'd already grabbed us a table. When I got there, she was dressed up. Nice dress, makeup done, hair styled. She'd gotten us that corner table with the best view of downtown. Sunset was just starting, all orange and pink. I showed up in my gym clothes with a book tucked under my arm. Ordered just an appetizer and a beer. Paid for only my items. I was friendly and pleasant, but I treated it exactly like getting food with a coworker. I read a few pages of my book between bites. Mentioned I was thinking of doing a guy's trip to Austin next month with some college friends. Why are you being like this? Like what? Cold. Distant. Like I don't matter. I'm matching your energy. You see us as friends who live together. I'm treating you accordingly. This is how I'd treat any friend. We're not just friends. Then what are we? You explicitly told me you don't love me romantically. You told me you don't want a future with me. You said you see us more as best friends. What would you call that if not friendship? She didn't have an answer, just stared at her untouched food. The real wake-up call came that weekend. Mother's Day was coming up in a couple weeks, and I usually spend it bouncing between both our families. Morning with mine, evening with hers, or vice versa depending on the year. It was always a whole thing, very couple-oriented. Sunday morning, I told her casually that I was heading to Chicago to see my mom. Leaving Thursday, back Monday. Should I come with you? That's a partner thing. I'm going solo this year. Your mom expects me. She'll ask questions. I'll let her know we're in a different place now. I'm sure she'll understand. I watched the realization wash over her face in real time. My family would ask why she wasn't there. She'd have to explain to her own mother why she wasn't included in my family plans anymore. Social media would show me with my family at brunch at my mom's house, all without her. This was what casual actually looked like in practice, and she was seeing it clearly for the first time. No more blending families. No more shared holidays. No more being part of each other's bigger lives. When I got back Monday afternoon, the apartment was spotless. She deep cleaned everything. Vacuumed, dusted, cleaned the bathrooms, organized the kitchen. There was pot roast in the oven, her mom's recipe that takes hours to make and that she usually claimed she didn't have time for. On the counter sat a $120 bottle of Blanton's bourbon, my favorite that I only bought for special occasions. She was wearing a robe, and I could see black lace lingerie underneath when she moved. I genuinely thanked her for cleaning the apartment. Told her it looked great. I ate a normal portion of the pot roast and put the rest in glass containers for my meal prep for the week. I pulled out my phone and Venmo'd her $60 with the note, whiskey split. When she moved close to me, touching my arm, clearly trying to initiate physical intimacy, I gently stepped back. I'm not comfortable being intimate with someone who isn't in love with me and doesn't want a future together. We've been having sex for 4 years. Yes, when I thought we were building towards something. When I thought we were in love. That's changed. Her face crumpled and I thought she might cry, but I held firm. This wasn't about punishing her. It was about respecting both of us enough to acknowledge what we actually had instead of pretending it was something else. Tuesday evening, her best friend Tessa asked me to meet her for drinks. Just the two of us. We went to the rooftop bar at Linger, the one in the old mortuary building with the views of the mountains. She'd clearly been dispatched as an emissary. She ordered us both margaritas and then launched into what was obviously a prepared speech. Whitney was going through something difficult, she explained. Some kind of quarter-life crisis or commitment anxiety. I was being unnecessarily harsh by withdrawing so completely. Not everyone wanted the traditional path of marriage and kids, and that didn't make Whitney's feelings invalid. I was punishing her for being vulnerable and honest with me about where she was emotionally. I let her finish and then asked her 3 questions. Would her boyfriend keep dating her if she told him she'd never marry him? Silence. Would she stay with someone who explicitly told her the romantic spark was gone? More silence. How long did she think I should continue investing everything into someone who directly stated she doesn't want a future with me? She didn't answer any of them. I want kids, I said finally. I'm 31 years old. Every year I spend with Whitney is a year I'm not finding someone who actually wants to build a life with me. She made her choice about what she wants. I'm making mine. I'm not being cruel. I'm being honest. Tessa looked into her margarita. I get it. I do. But she's my best friend, and she's miserable. Then maybe she should think about why she's miserable. I gave her exactly what she said she wanted. We finished our drinks in awkward silence. Wednesday afternoon, Whitney's brother Garrett called me directly. I was surprised because we weren't particularly close, just friendly at family gatherings. He told me he and his wife were having twins. They just found out. There was a family dinner that Sunday to celebrate with both sets of parents. Their mom had asked him why Whitney wasn't bringing me. Apparently, Whitney had told her entire family that we were just going through a rough patch, but working on it. Standard relationship stuff. We're not working on anything, I said clearly. Whitney told me she doesn't want marriage or kids, and that she's not in love with me anymore. I'm respecting her choice by stepping back from the relationship. Long pause on the other end of the line. Shit, man. My wife told Whitney she was crazy when she mentioned some of this stuff. We honestly thought she was joking or exaggerating. She wasn't. Another pause. Look, I probably shouldn't say this, but our whole family thinks she's self-sabotaging. My wife is pissed at her. Our mom keeps asking what she's thinking. If it helps at all, we're on your side here. It did help, actually. More than I expected. Thursday brought the real crisis, the one that made everything crystal clear. Whitney's MacBook Pro completely died. Wouldn't turn on, wouldn't charge, totally bricked. She needed it for her job. She worked on it every single day. The Apple Store said it would be $800 to repair or $1,200 to replace with the current model. She had essentially no savings. I knew this because we'd talked about finances before. She had maybe $400 in her checking account and virtually nothing in savings. Her credit card only had a $500 limit and was already maxed out from various purchases. She had genuinely no way to cover this expense. Over the past 2 years, I'd covered approximately $3,000 in her financial emergencies. A $1,400 emergency root canal last year when she didn't have dental insurance. A $900 car repair about 8 months ago when her transmission was acting up. $600 when she was short on rent during the slow season at her job and couldn't make the full payment. Her text came Thursday afternoon. Can you loan me for the laptop? I'll pay you back as soon as I can. I literally can't work without it. I can't do that. That's a partner-level expense. You should try applying for Apple Card or maybe ask your parents for help. My phone rang immediately. She was nearly in tears. You always help me with this stuff. You know I don't have the money. I helped my girlfriend with financial emergencies. But you're not my girlfriend in any meaningful sense. You're someone I'm casually dating who doesn't want a future with me. That's fundamentally different. I'm not being cruel. I'm being boundaried. Are you serious right now? You're really going to let me lose my job over this? You're not going to lose your job. You have parents who can help. You have a credit union you could apply to. You have options. I'm just not one of them anymore. She called me selfish and hung up. She ended up having to borrow the money from her parents. I know because I overheard her on the phone with her mother later that evening. Her mom asked why I wasn't helping her out like I usually did. I could hear Whitney scrambling to explain through the wall. Her carefully constructed narrative was unraveling. Saturday afternoon, Whitney tried yet another approach. She cornered me in the kitchen and insisted she'd never actually said she didn't love me. I was twisting her words, taking them out of context. All she'd wanted was a little space from the pressure of constant future planning. She wanted to slow down, not stop completely. I was overreacting and being deliberately cruel. I pulled out my phone and opened my notes app. I'd started documenting important conversations after our first talk, just so I'd have clarity for myself. I read back to her, word for word, what she'd said. The exact phrases about not wanting marriage or kids. About feeling like we were more friends than lovers. about the spark being gone on her end. Then I showed her the text I'd seen her send to Tessa that first night. I'd seen it over her shoulder while she was typing on the couch. The one where she'd said, "Finally told Cam I don't see a future with marriage or kids. Feels so much better being honest. Hope he understands. You've been documenting our private conversations? I've been remembering what you said to me, yes. The texts are your own words to someone else." She got angry then, really angry. "This is manipulative. You're twisting everything." "Am I? You said these things. I have the receipts. So either you were lying then, or you're lying now. Which is it?" She couldn't answer that. Just stood there opening and closing her mouth like a fish. Sunday, she went nuclear. Posted on Instagram and Facebook, vague but clearly about me. Something about finding out who someone really is when you're vulnerable with them. About emotional manipulation disguised as boundaries. About people who punish honesty. She didn't name me, but anyone who knew us would know exactly who she meant. Her friends flooded the comments within an hour. Supportive messages about how she deserved better. How controlling behavior was a red flag. How withholding affection was emotional abuse. One friend even commented that financial control was a classic abuse tactic. The post got dozens of likes and sympathetic comments. I was being thoroughly vilified, and I hadn't even been named. I didn't respond publicly, didn't comment, didn't post my own side. Instead, I privately messaged the 5 or 6 mutual friends who'd reached out asking if I was okay. I sent them the full context. Screenshots of Whitney's texts about not wanting a future. The detailed financial breakdown showing I'd paid $18,400 more than her over 18 months. A clear timeline of events showing I'd simply adjusted my behavior to match what she'd asked for. The shift happened faster than I expected. Within about 6 hours, her post was deleted. Several of her friends had apparently reached out to her privately with questions. One mutual friend, Logan, had even commented publicly before she took the post down. He'd written something like, "Wait, you told him you don't want to marry him or have kids, and you're upset he's treating the relationship as temporary? I'm confused." That comment got a lot of likes before everything disappeared. The narrative had flipped. People were questioning her version of events. The mob had turned. Monday evening, I came home from work to find Whitney's parents sitting on our couch. In our apartment. They'd driven up from Colorado Springs, which was about an hour away. I was completely blindsided. Whitney had called them that morning. She'd told them I was having some kind of mental health crisis. That I'd suddenly become cold and distant and calculating. That I wasn't communicating properly. That I was acting erratic and she was genuinely worried about my well-being. She'd convinced them to drive up for an intervention. Her mother stood up when I came in. "Honey, why didn't you tell us you were struggling? We had no idea you were going through such a hard time." I looked at Whitney, who couldn't meet my eyes. Then I set down my work bag and sat down calmly. I explained the situation clearly and completely. Whitney had sat me down 2 weeks ago and told me she never wanted to get married or have children. I watched her parents' faces fall. They'd been asking about grandchildren for 2 years now. Whitney had then told me she wasn't in love with me anymore and saw us more as best friends who lived together. I'd accepted this information and adjusted how I treated the relationship accordingly. She was now upset that I was no longer acting like her committed partner when she'd explicitly said she didn't want that kind of future with me. Her father, Dan, looked directly at his daughter. "Is this true? Did you tell him these things?" Whitney started backpedaling immediately. She'd just been honest about her feelings in that moment. She'd been confused, maybe a little depressed. She was going through something. She didn't mean it the way it sounded. I pulled out my phone and showed them the texts. The ones where Whitney had told Tessa she'd dropped the future bomb on me and felt relieved to finally be honest. The ones where she'd said she needed him to stop pressuring her about timelines. Her mother, Patricia, used Whitney's full name. "Whitney and Brennan. You told this man you don't want to marry him and you're upset that he believed you?" I also showed them the financial records. The spreadsheet with the $18,400 disparity. They didn't ask to see it, but I wanted them to understand the full scope of what had been happening. That I'd been subsidizing their daughter's lifestyle while she told me she didn't love me. Her father stood up abruptly. "Cameron, you've been more than patient here. More than fair." He turned to Whitney with clear disappointment on his face. "We raised you better than this." They left within minutes. Just gathered their things and walked out. Whitney's mother gave her a long look before leaving, something between pity and frustration. After they left, Whitney stood in the middle of the living room looking pale and shaky. She didn't say anything, just eventually walked to her room and closed the door. Tuesday night around 11, I was working in my office when I heard a quiet knock. Whitney came in. Her eyes were red from crying. She sat down on the floor and finally told me the truth. She'd read some article, some blog post or advice column about relationship dynamics and power and pursuit. It had said something about how women shouldn't chase, how they should make men prove their worth, how pulling back makes men invest more. She'd thought if she pushed me away a little, told me she wasn't sure about our future, I'd fight harder to keep her. She'd wanted me to propose, but she wanted to feel pursued first. Chased. Chosen. She was testing whether I really loved her. She expected me to plan elaborate romantic gestures, to prove why she should want a future with me, to convince her of my worth, to show her through actions that I was the one. Instead, I just accepted her words at face value and adjusted accordingly. I thought you'd fight for me, she said quietly. Plan something amazing. Show me why I should want to spend my life with you. I wanted you to make me feel special enough to say yes. Instead, you just left. I didn't leave. I'm sitting right here. But I'm not going to convince someone to love me. That's not how healthy relationships work. What if I said right now that I do want to get married? That I do want kids? That I was wrong. I'd ask if you really want those things, or if you just want to reset the game board and try again. And either way, I'd still say no. You tested my love instead of treasuring it. I can't build a life with someone who plays games with our future. She cried harder then, but I felt nothing. No urge to comfort her. No guilt. No second thoughts. Just absolute clarity that I was making the right choice. Wednesday morning, she started packing. Her parents had offered to let her stay in their basement temporarily until she found her own place. The apartment was eerily quiet. No arguments, no drama. Just the sound of her moving through rooms, deciding what was hers and what was mine. She cried occasionally, but quietly. I stayed helpful but distant. Made sure she had boxes, helped her carry heavy things to her car. We divided our shared possessions fairly, though there honestly wasn't much that was truly joint property. Thursday evening, while she was packing up the bedroom, she found something. An engagement ring box, tucked in the very back of my closet behind my winter coats. She stood in the doorway of my office holding it in both hands, staring at it like it might explode. You were going to propose? I was. I'd had it planned for about 2 months. Your birthday dinner next month at the Wolf's Tailor. That restaurant you'd been wanting to try. Had a whole thing figured out. That's a $4,200 ring from Hyde Park Jewelers downtown, by the way. Cushion cut, platinum band. I spent weeks picking it out. Her face went completely white, then red, then white again. She'd destroyed the exact thing she'd been trying to manipulate me into doing. The ring she'd wanted to be chased into accepting was already purchased. The proposal she'd been testing me for was already meticulously planned. She'd sabotaged her own future, burned down what she'd been claiming she wanted. She couldn't even speak, just carefully put the box back on my desk with shaking hands and left the room. I heard her crying in the bathroom for a long time after that. Saturday afternoon, my sister Jordan drove down from Fort Collins with her 3-year-old daughter Emma. We got sandwiches from Snarf's and walked around Washington Park. The weather was perfect, that crystalline Colorado sunshine that makes everything look sharp-edged and vivid. Jordan told me I seemed different. Lighter, she said. I feel lighter, I admitted. I've got my peace of mind back. My bank account is already looking healthier. I have energy to invest in myself again instead of pouring it into someone who wasn't reciprocating. I have clarity about what I actually want. And I have my self-respect back. Jordan laughed, that sharp bark of laughter she does when something is simultaneously funny and awful. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. Emma tugged on my hand. Uncle Cam, where's Miss Whitney? She's at her own home now, sweetie. Okay. Emma immediately went back to chasing pigeons across the grass, completely unbothered. Kids are resilient like that. They accept change and move on. I would have been a good father. I'll still get that chance to be a good father. Just not with Whitney. Sunday morning, Whitney came by for her last box of stuff. Some books, a lamp, random kitchen things she'd decided she wanted after all. We stood in the doorway for a moment, that weird liminal space between what was and what would never be again. I really did love you, you know. Maybe you did. But not enough to build a life with me. Not enough to treasure what we had instead of testing it. What if I went to therapy? really worked on my commitment issues and my fear of the future? Would you consider trying again? You should absolutely do that. For yourself and for whoever you're with next. But it won't be me. That ship has sailed. Do you hate me? No, I genuinely don't. I actually hope you figure out what you want and find someone who wants the same things. But I know what I want now, and it's not spending my life wondering if my partner is testing me or actually means what they say. Will you at least think about it? If I really change? No, I won't be thinking about it. I'm moving forward with my life. I've already got a showing scheduled for a house in Park Hill next week. 3 bedrooms, big backyard, good school district. I'm going to build the life I want with someone who actually wants to build it with me. She looked at me for a long moment, and I could see the recognition finally settling into her eyes. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I wasn't playing hard to get or trying to teach her a lesson. I was just completely, genuinely done. She'd lost me, not in a dramatic explosion, but in a quiet, permanent way. She nodded once, picked up her box, and walked to her car. I watched her drive away and felt nothing but overwhelming relief. 6 weeks later, I'm jogging my usual route around Washington Park on a Sunday morning. It's one of those absolutely perfect Colorado days. Temperature in the mid-70s, not a cloud in the bright blue sky. Everything has that sharp, clean quality that makes you grateful to be alive. I'm running my usual loop when I see Whitney with Tessa at an outdoor yoga class happening on the big lawn. They're in downward dog or warrior pose or something. We make eye contact across about 50 yards of grass. I give a brief, polite wave. She waves back. Small, polite, distant. 2 people who used to know each other and now don't. I keep running. I've been on 3 proper dates since she moved out. All of them with different women, all of them fine, none of them quite clicking yet. But one of them, Ashley, is actually really promising. We're getting coffee again this Tuesday. She's a physical therapist, has her life together, and on our first date, she mentioned she definitely wanted kids someday. Imagine that. Someone who knows what they want and says it clearly. I put an offer on a house in Park Hill 2 weeks ago. 3 bedrooms, updated kitchen, a backyard with mature trees and space for a playset eventually. It's pending inspection right now, but should close within the month. I've reconnected with friends I'd completely let slide while I was busy trying to build a future with someone who didn't want one. Had a guy's night last weekend that went until 2 in the morning. Haven't done that in years. I started that woodworking class at the Denver woodshop that I'd been talking about for literally 2 years. Whitney always thought it was a waste of money, said I'd never stick with it. I'm 3 classes in and already working on a coffee table. Turns out I'm pretty good at it.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.